we conclude our look at Galatians chapter 5 today, we will take a look at what Paul calls the fruit of the Spirit. The author of this letter uses a familiar, everyday object in order to illustrate characteristics of God. Now, the Greek word that we translate fruit can also be translated as offspring, deed, action, result, or profit. In what was a highly agricultural society, fruit was a good and very necessary thing. Fruit was the result of hard work and careful attention. Everyone in Galatia knew that fruit did not just happen. Note also that Paul describes the fruits of the flesh, plural. But when he moves to the positive, he discusses the fruit, singular, of the Spirit. This gives us the sense that the Spirit has one work to do in all of us. That is, that we become more and more like Christ in our character. And what a list is given here. It is no accident that love tops the list. As we understand, love is the most important of the character traits that we will exhibit. But it is interesting to note that joy comes second on Paul's list. After discussing the works of the flesh earlier, Paul wants us to know that the fun is not to be had through the list of negative and sinful activities that he just spoke of. Joy is second on the list so that we know and understand this truth, that a life committed to serving Christ is actually fun and enjoyable. You see, the real joy with no negative consequences is to be found in a life committed to Christ, following His guidelines for a life well lived. Okay, with that being said, let's take a look at the entire list of the fruit of the Spirit in verses 22 and 23 of Galatians chapter 5. These 9 actions, or results of the Christian life, when carefully developed, will lead to a life without regrets. So this is the next in our series entitled Liberated.
If I were to bring donuts in the equation, how many still want the fruit? How many want the donuts? Okay, so I'm actually pleasantly surprised. We have a little healthier crowd in here this morning than I might have expected. But here's the deal, right? If I say, pick a piece of fruit, that's an easy choice, right? But if I throw donuts into the mix, for some of us, it's like, I don't know. I know I should choose the fruit, but the donut looks really good and I really want that, right? I have that personal struggle, but I just got to tell you that we all know what the right choice is, right? But presented with the freedom to choose, we don't always choose the best thing for us. Right. We are looking this morning, as you just saw in the video, at the fruit of the Spirit. And so we're going to go back and we're going to look at Galatians 5. So Galatians 5, 13 to 18. You brothers and sisters were called to be free, but do not use your freedom to indulge the flesh. Rather, serve one another humbly in love. For the entire law is fulfilled in keeping this one command: love your neighbor as yourself. If you bite and devour each other, watch out, or you will be destroyed by each other. So I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. For the flesh desires what is contrary to the Spirit, and the Spirit what is contrary to the flesh. They are in conflict with each other, so that you are not to do whatever you want. But if you are led by the Spirit, you are not under the law. Now, but I think there's something that's really key that needs to be pulled out of this when it comes to freedom and you have a choice. You have the choice with freedom that you have the freedom to choose to serve yourself or you have the freedom to choose to serve others. And that's really kind of the simple choice that's being presented here when it comes to our freedom is you have the freedom to do what you please and to serve yourself, or you have the freedom to serve others. And that's what we're presented with. When you're making decisions about your diet, right? You have the freedom to choose what you should do, or the freedom to choose what you want to do, right? And we deal with the consequences based on whatever that choice is. So let's keep going. Verse 19 says, the acts of the flesh are obvious: sexual immorality, impurity, and debauchery, idolatry and witchcraft, hatred, discord, jealousy, fits of rage, selfish ambition, dissensions, factions, and envy, drunkenness, orgies, and the like. I warn you, as I did before, that those who live like this will not inherit the kingdom of heaven. It's true, though. We all have our thing that looks appealing to me, right? And this is the thing that I struggle with. And for others, it's like, that's not even an issue. It doesn't even cross my mind. Some people are prone to fits of rage and anger. And other people are like, I don't understand why people get upset by stuff because it's not a big deal. Or some people have struggles with just doing things out of selfish ambition, and I'll only do it if it benefits me. And other people just kind of naturally tend to think of others first. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. Those who belong to Christ Jesus have crucified the flesh with its passions and desires. Since we live by the Spirit, let us keep in step with the Spirit. Let us not become conceited, provoking, and envying each other. The fruit of the Spirit are about the attitudes of the heart and mind. The attitudes of the heart and mind, which are the foundation or the soil for others. And as Brian already said, the first thing starts with love, right? If the law says that you are to love your neighbor as yourself, it makes sense that love is the first fruit of the Spirit, right? We can take something that's not sin, and by our lack of self-control or temperance, it can become sin for us. There's a lot of things that are good in life when they're done in moderation, or when they're done when you exercise restraint. And when you cross the line and you cannot control yourself, your urges, and what you do, then we have a problem. It's not just about what you do, but how you do it. Do focus on the do's, don't focus on the don'ts. We need to prune off old habits and cultivate new ones. We need to follow the leader. How many of you played that game as a kid, right? You follow the leader. Is there any question what you're supposed to do? No, because you had a leader that showed you an example and you do what they do. You imitate or you copy. Let's reread verses 24 to 26. Paul says, those who belong to Jesus Christ have crucified the flesh with its passions and desires. Since we live by the Spirit, let us keep in step with the Spirit. Let us not become conceited, provoking, and envying each other.